We have a really crucial pair of game twos tonight, but we're going to start our show with breaking news. Sandy Brondello out as head coach of the New York Liberty. In a statement released by the team, it says in part, quote, Sandy finishes her tenure in New York as the winningest coach in franchise history, and she took us to never-seen-before heights as the first head coach to lead the Liberty to a championship. They ended by saying, we wish Sandy the very best.
Fans never saw it coming. Out of nowhere, the WNBA dumped Sandy Brondello, the very coach who brought the Liberty their first championship. The statement was polite. We wish her the best. But whispers suggest something deeper. Word is Brondello's public praise of Caitlin Clark didn't sit well. Imagine that. Complimenting Clark might have cost her the job.
Sandy Brondello is out on the market. We got a shark out on the market. This is wild news. Sandy Brondello has been fired by the New York Liberty in shocking fashion. This is on ESPN. Breaking: New York Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello's contract will not be renewed for the 2026 season. The team announced the organization will begin the search for its next coach immediately. So we got Noel Quinn gone. Sandy Brondello gone. I think the Indiana Fever need to take a look at this. I think, look, it's not too late to fix the mistake.
Did praising Caitlin Clark really cost Sandy Brondello her job? Or was this just New York panicking? Either way, this isn't a normal firing. We're talking about the winningest coach in Liberty history. Gone less than a year after bringing home the title fans had been waiting decades for. And the way it unfolded? A quick statement, no warning, no farewell. That alone screams there's something deeper behind the decision.
In the WNBA history, all time, to win a title with multiple franchises and her 40 playoff wins. They are the second most all time behind Cheryl Reed.
Let's rewind. Sandy Brondello wasn't just another coach passing through New York. She was the one who took all those expensive stars, Breanna Stewart, Jonquil Jones, Sabrina Ionescu, and molded them into an actual championship squad. Before her, the Liberty were just a flashy roster without direction. Under her, they became legit winners. That should buy time, right? Wrong. Instead, the Liberty dropped a cold statement. We thank Sandy for her contributions and wish her the best. Translation? We're cutting ties, no explanation. But here's the part no one's overlooking: the timing. This move came right after Sandy openly praised Caitlin Clark. Normally, praising Caitlin Clark shouldn't be controversial. She's only in her second pro season, yet she's transformed TV ratings, ticket sales, and jersey numbers across the league. But in today's WNBA politics, even giving Clark credit can spark drama. Some players resent the spotlight she gets. Some coaches avoid praising her, worried it overshadows their own stars. Brondello didn't play that game. She gave Clark her flowers, publicly and unapologetically. And that didn't sit well, especially in New York, where the Liberty's entire brand centers on Stewart, Jones, and Sabrina. They want the headlines to stay there, not drift to Indiana. But Brondello said the quiet part out loud. Caitlin Clark changed the league. Not long after, she was gone. Fans connected the dots instantly.
New York Liberty just fired their head coach. People are confused as to why, because they won the championship last year. They made the playoffs this year. In sports, there's always a scapegoat when things aren't going the way that they wanted it to go. Clearly, in New York, the standard has been raised. As Coach Tibbs learned with the New York Knicks, making the playoffs does not guarantee that you are safe anymore. They have raised the standard. They're sending a message to the fans, to the team, saying, we don't want to just go to the playoffs. We need to go to the finals and we need to win. So if it's not the players on the court that are changing, it's got to be the coaching staff. So unfortunately, that did mean Coach Sam.
Let's get one thing straight. The New York Liberty didn't just part ways with some random coach. They cut loose Sandy Brondello, The woman who delivered them their very first championship. The coach who finally turned a flashy, star-studded roster into a cohesive, title-winning team. And they did it in a way that's got fans, insiders, and even rival coaches shaking their heads. Now officially, the Liberty framed this move as performance-based. The line from the front office was simple: championship or bust. When New York stumbled in the postseason, they decided the team needed a change. But here's where the story doesn't add up. If this was truly just about wins and losses, why would their press release go out of its way to highlight Brondello's achievements? Why emphasize that she was the winningest coach in franchise history? Why praise her playoff record and leadership? You don't gas someone up like that if you're letting them go solely over postseason disappointment. You do it when you're trying to soften the blow of a decision rooted in something deeper. And fans believe that something was her public comments about Caitlin Clark. Multiple insiders have already hinted at it. Brondello's praise of Clark didn't sit well with Liberty ownership. And in a league where some players openly roll their eyes at Clark's meteoric rise, having your head coach call her transformative was seen as disloyal. Think about that. A coach praised a player for growing the game, and it might have cost her job. It sounds petty, but that's exactly the type of politics swirling inside the WNBA right now. Earlier this season, Brondello went on record saying Caitlin Clark wasn't just a great rookie, but a generational player who elevated everyone around her. That's high praise, and it's also the truth. But in New York, where the Liberty's brand revolves around Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, and Sabrina Ionescu, those words hit differently. Brondello wasn't just complimenting a rival. She was essentially saying Clark had set the new standard for the league. And when Stewart and the rest of the Liberty core heard that, the silence was deafening. Stewart didn't fire back publicly, but her lack of acknowledgement spoke volumes. Ownership read the room, saw their stars feeling overshadowed, and made their choice that the writing was on the wall. You can win a championship, you can be the winningest coach in team history, but if you praise the wrong player at the wrong time, you're suddenly expendable. It's not about basketball anymore. It's about optics, egos, and narrative control. That's why fans are furious. Brondello wasn't just winning games. She was stabilizing a franchise that had been defined by chaos for years. She managed egos, navigated relentless media pressure, and kept a high-priced roster pointed toward the same goal. Most franchises would give anything for a coach like that. But New York tossed her aside because she didn't toe the company line that here's the bigger issue. The WNBA claims it wants to grow the game, yet it seems terrified of acknowledging the biggest growth driver in the league right now, Caitlin Clark. The numbers don't lie. Ratings, attendance, jersey sales, headlines, all spike whenever Clark's name is attached. Brondello just spoke the truth, but instead of embracing reality, the league and its franchises are acting like praising Clark is betrayal. That insecurity just cost the Liberty their best coach. And let's not downplay Brondello's legacy here. This isn't a one-hit wonder. She won titles in Phoenix before she won in New York, making her one of just 2 coaches in league history to capture championships with multiple franchises. Her 40 career playoff wins? Second most all-time. That's elite company. That's Hall of Fame territory. And yet she gets tossed aside like yesterday's news because she dared to acknowledge the player who's single-handedly boosting the WNBA's profile. Fans aren't buying the mutual parting spin either. Mutual is the word you use when a breakup is one-sided, but you don't want it to sound ugly. Brondello didn't grind for decades, win titles in multiple cities, and become one of the winningest coaches in history just to wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm done. This was the franchise pulling the trigger, and the timing makes it obvious. The Liberty had just wrapped their season. Emotions were still raw. Instead of waiting for a calm off-season review, the front office moved fast, too fast, to dump the coach who had given them everything they'd asked for. Why now? Why this quickly? Fans know why. Control. Brondello praised Caitlin Clark, the one player who makes too many league veterans feel insecure, and ownership decided it couldn't stand. But if you think this is just speculation, look at the bigger pattern. Clark's name has been a lightning rod all year. Opposing players body-checked her. Others mocked her in press conferences. Coaches muttered passive-aggressive comments about the attention she gets. Even referees have been accused of giving her a tougher whistle. Through all of it, Brondello stood up and said something positive. She called Clark transformative. She credited her with bringing eyeballs to the game. That's all it took. And the irony? Brondello wasn't wrong. The Indiana Fever went from an afterthought to the most-watched team in the league. Road games sold out. TV ratings broke records. Jersey sales exploded. None of that happened because of the Liberty, the Aces, or any other team. It happened because Caitlin Clark's presence moved the needle. Brondello acknowledged the obvious truth. Instead of celebrating her honesty, the Liberty treated it like treason. Now the team looks petty, and the league looks insecure. Think about how fans reacted. Social media lit up within minutes of the firing. Liberty fans were furious. Fever fans were stunned. Neutral fans called it embarrassing. Former players chimed in to say Brondello deserved better. And the anger wasn't just about her losing her job. It was about why she lost it. People saw through the PR spin instantly. They connected the dots. Clark's praise lined up with Brondello's exit, and the timing was just too perfect to ignore. Meanwhile, rival voices around the league piled on. Becky Hammon of the Las Vegas Aces, a two-time champion coach herself, flat out said she hated the move, calling Brondello a quality coach and person. Translation: New York messed up. And here's what makes it messier. Liberty players like Breanna Stewart publicly supported Brondello right before she got fired. So if your MVP caliber star is saying she has her coach's back, but ownership fires her anyway, what does that tell you? It says this wasn't about basketball results at all. It was about image control, and that's dangerous. Because now every coach in the WNBA is paying attention. The message being sent is simple. Praise the wrong player, step outside the approved narrative, and you could be next. That doesn't build growth. That builds fear. And fear is the last thing a league chasing mainstream attention can afford. As for Brondello, don't expect her to stay unemployed for long. She's too good, too respected. Seattle's got an opening. Expansion franchises are on the horizon. Somebody will hand her the keys again. And don't be surprised if she comes back to haunt the Liberty by beating them in the playoffs with a new squad. That would be the ultimate karma. And let's clear something up. Caitlin Clark didn't ask for any of this. She didn't scheme to get Brondello fired. She's just playing basketball, breaking records, and raising the WNBA's profile. But because her name carries so much weight, she ends up in the middle of controversies she never created. That's the real shame here. Instead of celebrating the fact that Clark's popularity boosts every team, yes, even the Liberty, who sold more tickets when Indiana visited, the league has turned her into a dividing line. But here's the hard truth the league office doesn't want to say out loud. Caitlin Clark isn't going anywhere. She's already changed the game, and she's only in year 2. Ratings will keep rising. Fans will keep showing up. Kids will keep wearing her jersey. You can fire coaches. You can play politics. You can try to redirect the spotlight. But the Clark effect is bigger than all of it, which is why firing Brondello doesn't silence the Clark conversation. It amplifies it. Instead of talking about the Liberty's future, everyone is talking about how fragile the league looks when one compliment about Clark triggers a meltdown. That's not strength. That's weakness. And in the end, that's why fans are in shock. Not just because Sandy Brondello is gone, but because the WNBA exposed its own insecurity in the process. It showed that even its most accomplished coaches aren't safe if they don't toe the party line. And fans see right through that. Sandy Brondello gave New York its first championship and still got pushed out, allegedly for praising Caitlin Clark. If that doesn't scream insecurity, nothing does. The league can spin it however it wants, but the truth is already out there. Clark changed the league, and no amount of politics can erase that.